January 20th, 2025, Washington, D.C. At the center of a presidential inauguration, the front rows are traditionally reserved for the highest officials of the state. But the 2025 ceremony signaled a shift in who occupies these positions of power. By October of that year, Elon Musk became the first person to record a personal net worth of $500 billion. That $500 billion fortune is larger than the annual military budget of the United States and exceeds the GDP of most individual nations. This wasn't an isolated peak. Data from the 2026 Davos Summit revealed just 3,000 billionaires now hold a collective $18.3 trillion. Their wealth has grown 81% since 2020, even as global economic growth slowed for everyone else. The wealth billionaires gained in 2025 alone is roughly equal to everything owned by the bottom 4.1 billion people on Earth. While these fortunes surged, 1 in 4 people globally struggled to afford a regular meal. Investigative data challenges the idea that these fortunes are built solely on innovation. 60% of all billionaire wealth is tied to inheritance, monopoly power, or specific connections to government officials. In 2024, more billionaires were created through inheritance than through starting new businesses. When capital is concentrated to this degree, it moves beyond a financial measurement. These numbers suggest that extreme wealth allows for the acquisition of the systems designed to regulate it, effectively moving from the market into the governing structure of society itself. During the 2024 election cycle, Elon Musk provided more than $290 million in campaign contributions. Shortly after the election, he was appointed to lead the Department of Government Efficiency, or DOGE, a role that bypassed the standard Senate confirmation process and financial disclosure requirements. From this position, Musk's initiative gained access to the federal government's most sensitive data. This included tapping into IRS records, bank account information, and Social Security Administration databases containing personal details for millions of American workers. This access creates immediate conflicts. Musk's various companies have received nearly $40 billion in government contracts and subsidies. His new role gave him the authority to dismantle the very agencies responsible for overseeing his private business interests. In one instance, after the Federal Aviation Administration fined SpaceX over $600,000 for safety violations, Musk used his position at DOGE to access the FAA's internal technology systems. These actions shift the relationship between the government and the private sector. By placing the heads of regulated companies into roles with authority over their own regulators, the independent civil service is effectively replaced by an extension of the businesses themselves. Controlling the law is only one part of the strategy. The second pillar involves the ownership of the platforms that determine how citizens perceive political reality. Billionaires now own more than half of the world's most influential media companies. Jeff Bezos purchased The Washington Post, where critical reporting on his peers has been restricted. In France, billionaire Vincent Bolloré turned CNews into a high-volume platform for far-right political movements, mirroring the media models used in the United States. Following his $44 billion acquisition of Twitter, Elon Musk dismantled content moderation teams and adjusted the platform's algorithms. He confirmed his own political posts, often amplifying far-right content to his 200 million followers, received special priority in the user feed. This consolidation is accelerating as we move into the development of artificial intelligence. The physical infrastructure of AI, from data centers to high-end processing chips, is currently controlled by the same small group of billionaires who own the media and social platforms. Algorithms that once functioned as neutral public squares have been transitioned into private megaphones, allowing their owners to define what is true and what is relevant to the global audience. The legal foundation for this financial influence was solidified in 2010. The Citizens United decision removed limits on political spending by corporations and wealthy individuals, allowing billionaires to fund political outcomes on a scale that ordinary citizens cannot match. This influence supports a global system of wealth transfer. The World Inequality Lab identifies a mechanism where $30 million per hour moves from the world's poorest countries to the top 1%. This occurs through high-interest debt and the privileged position of wealthy nations in the global financial system. Much of this extracted capital is then moved into an offshore network of tax havens. These jurisdictions hold hundreds of billions of dollars, shielding them from the taxes that fund public infrastructure and services in the countries where the wealth was generated. These financial mechanics are not accidental. They function as a continuous loop, pumping capital upward to provide the resources needed to further capture media and government institutions. As economic inequality grows, political freedom tends to shrink. 2024 marked the 19th year of declining global freedom, with data showing that democratic institutions are 7 times more likely to fail in countries with extreme wealth disparities. Citizens are beginning to push back against this consolidation. In 2025 alone, over 140 anti-government protests were recorded across 68 countries. In Bangladesh, a student-led movement successfully challenged the ruling administration. In Kenya, youth protesters forced the withdrawal of new tax laws, holding up the constitution as they demanded economic accountability. These movements highlight a growing global recognition of the link between economic capture and the loss of political voice. Practical reforms to address this are already being discussed at the highest levels. This includes a proposed 2% global tax on billionaire wealth, which would generate an estimated $250 billion annually and reduce the influence of massive fortunes on the political process. The current level of wealth concentration followed 40 years of specific policy decisions. The deregulation and tax cuts that began in the 1980s dismantled the laws that previously limited how much power a single individual could accumulate. We are at a point where the evidence demands a structural choice. We can implement reforms that once again separate private wealth from public power, or we can accept a future where democracy exists only as a subsidiary of the billionaire class.